Would you know how to treat an infected wound without antibiotics? If not, stay tuned. I'm going to make it super simple and super easy for the average person. Hi guys, it's Ryan here with Sigma Survival, and in today's video I'm going to give you 5 ways to treat an infected wound, and these are going to be super simple, super easy for the average person. And when you don't have antibiotics, which in most cases most of us don't, let's face it, you know, antibiotics are very hard to come by. They're prescription only medicines, and you know, when it comes to dealing with survival situations, with disaster preparedness, general prepping, you know, antibiotics are a really good prep to have, but they're very, very hard to come by. They're very expensive. It's just something that not all of us are going to have, and sometimes, you know, you might not want to go straight to antibiotics if you have them anyway, because you might want to conserve them because, you know, for something more serious. So topical antibiotics are commonly used to either prevent or treat infections in wounds. You know, something like an insect bite can become a deadly infected wound pretty quickly. So I'm going to give you 5 options that are super simple and super easy. I'm going to start with kind of like the most simple one. It's not the best method, but then we're going to go up in scale for what's better and better and better. So what can you use, everyday items that you'll find in the house to treat an infected wound? You can use sugar, okay? Sugar is something that was used in the American Civil War on wounds. The way it works is because it's acidic, bacteria doesn't like living in that acidic environment, at least the type of acidity that the sugar produces, and that essentially stops the bacteria from thriving. So you can use petroleum jelly and sprinkle the sugar on, or you can just put sugar directly onto that wound, cover it with a dressing, and that can really help massively. One thing I will say is don't expect to just be able to do that or one of the other methods I'm going to mention without thoroughly cleaning that wound. You need to irrigate that wound with clean water, or maybe water that's got something like iodine in it, or you know, some kind of antiseptic solution that's been diluted down. You need to irrigate the dirt and the crap out of that wound, otherwise it's just going to be a nightmare, okay? You need to make sure that you wash your hands thoroughly before you do anything, and preferably wear sterile gloves. But, you know, once you've done all of that, you know, you need to then look at how you're going to stop that infection from progressing. So utilising sugar is your first best bet. If you don't have anything else, it's definitely something that I would use. Okay, next to sugar, I would say honey is a good bet. I like the squeezy bottles. I always buy these where I can and put them in my kits. You can't have too much honey, okay? You know, for large deep wounds you could just pour this straight in. For small ones you can just paste it on. This stuff is great. It also speeds up wound healing. It's just a great thing to have, and I find it soothes the pain a little bit as well. So honey is good. General medical recommendations are normally to avoid giving honey to babies because they're botulism, I believe it is. I could be wrong on that one, but a type of bacteria or infectious pathogen can basically affect that baby, which doesn't normally affect us adults and older children. So just be careful with babies, but there's been no reported cases to my knowledge of babies being affected by it being put on a wound. It's normally when they ingest it. Anyway, honey is also a good last-ditch option if you don't have much else. Another option is essential oils, okay? So I've seen some pretty interesting case studies, some scientific studies that are talking about using this where antibiotics aren't working. In fish farms in particular, they've used melaleuca or tea tree oil, as well as like 3 or 4 other essential oils on top of that, to stop the spread of bacteria in the fish farms, which are an absolute breeding ground of bacteria. This could be easily used on minor cuts. It could also be used maybe to put on a dressing and then put on top of a wound. or around the edges of wounds, etc., etc. Now, I would definitely take that with a pinch of salt. I'm not giving medical advice, I'm just saying that this stuff works like a charm. I use this for all kinds of things now. I brush my teeth with it as well. So I put it on my non-fluoridated toothpaste and it's great. I put it on athlete's foot if I ever get that, to be honest, I've only had that once since I've started doing this. It's great stuff. It's not just antibacterial, it's antifungal as well. You could use this in all manner of ways, and you can prevent infection, wounds aside, because you can use it as an insect repellent. Another thing as well is betadine or iodine or povidone betadine solution, basically iodine. This is really cheap here in Portugal. Actually, this was like a little over €2. This stuff can be diluted down to irrigate wounds, really good for that. I would avoid putting it on directly, without dilution, because it can cause some damage to the internal tissues and slow wound healing. I don't really want to slow the wound healing. I want to speed it up with something like honey. So this is good stuff if you've got nothing else. If you don't have water, then you could probably put it on undiluted. It's probably just going to damage some of the tissue and slow the healing down, but it's probably going to kill the infection. This is also good potentially just for putting around the edges of wounds to stop any sort of bacteria from thriving on the outside as well. Iodine is really good for water purification as well, although it won't kill everything, it'll kill most things. It can also be good for protecting against thyroid damage when you are dealing with radioactive uranium, I believe it is. So iodine is a good prep to have. I don't ever want to be without it, to be honest. Okay, finally I want to talk about silver dressings. These are the biggest silver dressings I own. I've talked about silver dressings in other videos. This is 20 by 30 centimetres. This is good because this can work on larger surface areas. I've got two there. This can work on larger surface areas, or I can cut it into the size that I need, reseal it with a bit of duct tape, the packaging, and apply the dressing as needed and just change it out when it's needed to be changed out. Now this is great for burns as well, because burns, generally speaking, don't react very well to antibiotic therapy. They normally need silver treatment, so I like to have this, especially for nuclear preparedness, dealing with burns. Burns are a type of wound and we need to factor that in as well, so silver is definitely on the list. A great prep to have, a little bit more expensive but still worth the investment. If you don't have anything else, yet again, sugar is your first line, honey is your next, essential oils and iodine I would say come after that, and then this is obviously like the gold standard in terms of dressings. This is the only dressing that I would be confident to leave on for like more than a day or so. I feel like I could leave this on for quite a while and not really have many problems. The problem with dressings in general, guys, is that they trap infection in. Silver naturally fights infection, so that means that this is a great alternative to normal conventional dressings. If I need to utilise an improvised dressing in the field, like let's say my Shema scarf, I would like to put a silver dressing on top of it first, or let's say a gauze pad that I've soaked in tea tree oil or something like that, or iodine solution that's been diluted maybe, put it on top and let that do its work, because an improvised dressing is going to probably harbour more bacteria, whereas this stuff, is going to be naturally antibacterial and fight off anything that's going to get in that wound or anything that's already in that wound. So that's it, guys. In a nutshell, 5 ways of protecting yourself against infected wounds. Let me know in the comments what you think. I've give it from super simple and easy that everybody can access to a little bit more advanced, but it's still stuff that you can access without prescriptions, without antibiotics. Thanks for watching, and please do like and subscribe. It really helps the channel to grow, and till next time.